All right, so a lot of the things I like to talk about on my channel is about budgeting, especially as you lead your way into retirement. And I believe it's very important, and a lot of people overlook it. And that's why I talk about it as much as I do, because there's no reason for anyone to go into retirement struggling financially unless they literally haven't had the opportunity to save any money and have no plan and no way to afford to retire. Then maybe you need to keep working. I get that. There's a lot of people out there, seniors right now, that are working, continuing or went back or doing part-time work. So I don't have any problem with that per se. I just want you to be better prepared. And for those of us that are planning to retire soon, we need to be preparing now. And I say that because the earlier we plan, the better, right? It's crucial. It's especially in today's economic climate. The stock market is going up and down like a roller coaster lately. And if you're counting on that money to be there and be the number that it was last 2 days ago, it's not. So you have to be prepared and understand what your budget's going to be. And that way you can be ready to, think about the compound interest. How can I reduce my financial stress? What are the benefits if I get started earlier? So think about these things. I don't care if you're 2 years away or 5 years away. It's coming, and it'll get here quicker than you think. One of the things I think is important is that people need to learn how to master their finances. You need to understand what your current income is, what your expenses are, and then adapt your expenses to meet your income when retirement comes, because what I make now is not going to be half of what I make when I'm retired. I'm going to be lucky to make half, especially when you consider the overtime that I've worked all these years, and now go down to a percentage of what 40-hour paycheck would look like. It's going to take some time to adjust for everybody, but knowing what your budget's going to be and what you're going to spend makes things a lot easier. And that includes being able to consider housing and healthcare and your leisure activities. What am I going to spend my money on? What things are wants? What things are needs? And what things are must-have needs, right? So housing, healthcare, food, keeping your house powered, obviously are required necessities. Having internet, maybe not, if you can get by with just using your phone. For whatever things you may want to do. If you're on a tight budget, everything is on the line and everything has to be considered to be cut. So I would, with that being said, I would recommend everybody, use the budgeting apps and the tools that are out there to help you figure out what's you have to have and what you must spend on, what income you have that you can count on, and then make your budget work within those means. However, between now and then, you need to maximize your savings. You need to be using the catch-up money. You need to be optimizing with using IRAs if you understand how they work, index funds. You need to know what the investment portfolio diversity is. Talk to a financial planner to have them, help you lay out a good plan so that you know that your finances are set and that somebody's helping you manage them that knows what they're talking about. And having a realistic budget also means you don't have to live frugally and be scarce at the same time. Okay? You don't have to. There's a difference between eating steak every day and eating ground beef most of the time. At least ground beef is sustainable. Expecting to retire and eat steak every day is a little bit more expensive, obviously. So, I use meat because that's pretty much how I eat all the time. And my budget for food is meat, ground beef. I can get it for $5 to $6.50 a pound, depending on where I go. It's grass-fed good stuff versus, a ribeye steak, which is $12.99 a pound or $12.99 per steak, and you may only get 10 ounces. So there's a lot of differences between being frugal and being living in a scarcity mindset where you think you can't afford anything. Also, there's ways that you can find to cut costs on non-essentials, but things that you want to still do and enjoy. If you're going to do some traveling, dining, entertainment, those kinds of things. There's always discounts out there. My wife has an app on her phone that automatically searches for coupons for anything she buys. And then if there's a coupon, you can apply it. And if it's not a coupon for, it's mostly for food and those kinds of purchases. But I'm sure that there's ways out there like StubHub and different things. If you want to buy tickets to a venue, to a show going on, there's ways to save money. So I would recommend that you use any of those that you think would be pertinent to your situation, the kind of activities you want to use and have during retirement. One of them that I know is very popular with the guys anyway, that in my golf leagues that I've been on in the past, is Golf Pass. They have annual golf season passes in my hometown here in Northern Illinois that you can buy for, $200 for the whole season to use 5 different courses anytime, as long as you have a reservation or call ahead. So that's pretty cheap when you consider that a round of golf, even if you're walking, is going to run you on average $20. Now, there's also ways that you can make your lifestyle a little bit more minimalist, and we found this out when we packed up to move, is that there was a lot of things we didn't need, and those things didn't get moved. And you have to realize that you don't need all these things. If you haven't touched it, that Kim Commando way is basically one of those situations. If you haven't touched it in a year, you don't need it. Well, I'm talking about boxes that we had in our basement that we hadn't opened in 5 years or more. So being a minimalist just means doing more with less, because you're cutting out the non-essentials and only keeping the things that are the most important to you, and doing only the things that are the most important to you. A piece of that puzzle too that we had embraced years ago when our kids got old enough to really enjoy and do more travel stuff with, is that we decided we are going to make more of a life with experiences than with possessions. Taking the kids to do theme parks and going to Florida when we were younger, going up to some of the local attractions for weekends and holidays. We did those kinds of things instead of buying this or buying that. There's a lot of ways that you can save, even as you go into retirement then, that allows you to do the things you enjoy the most without it being a financial burden to enjoy them. And having less stuff means you have less things to pay for, which means you're building a life with experiences, not just having things around to collect dust. So part of that might include downsizing, relocating to a smaller house, smaller community. You need to make sure you're looking at the locations you want to retire at, what the cost of living is going to be there, how you're going to set up your budget to make it affordable, if that's really where you want to be. We found a way to make Florida affordable for us. There's a way for you to make it affordable for you if you want to go someplace that's a little bit more expensive on the pricey side. But there's ways to do those things without it breaking your bank. You just have to do some research and do some looking and prep early enough so that you're prepared to do that. Anyway, this ran a little longer than I expected, but thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.